I think we underestimate how powerful happiness can be, and we also underestimate the impact of grief and how paralyzing it can be regarding our capacity to make choices towards said happiness. Like both of these things are extremely powerful, and and even though we are humans who have the agency to make conscious decisions, we still have a brain that kind of works more like input process output. You give it something repeatedly, that becomes its truth. So recently read this quote that excellence is a habit. That is a very good thought to live by. We'll come to that, but there is an experiment by Seligman and Mayer, something. They performed an experiment on dogs, and the entire detailed experiment is on Wikipedia, but some of it kind of works like that. There were 3 groups of dogs: group number 1, group number 2, and group number 3. Group number 1 was completely separate. 2 and 3 were paired, even though they were in separate boxes or something, but they were paired. So group number 1, when they got a shock and then they jumped out of it or something like that, the shock was stopped. They didn't receive a shock after that. But group number 2, they got a shock and they had some button or lever something next to them that they could move so that the shock would stop. They could use that lever. Group number 3 had no such apparatus. They were simply in a box where they were receiving shocks, and because they were paired with group number 2 dogs, the moment the paired dog from group number 2 would move the lever or something, the shock would stop for the dog in group 3 also. So repeatedly when you do that, what happened was group number 3 realized that it could do nothing that would change what it was going through. Like its actions have no impact on the shock thing. So even when they were put in an apparatus, all 3 group dogs, where they could jump out of it to escape the shock, group number 1 dogs jumped immediately. Group number 2 did also at some point, but group number 3 dogs mostly just laid there and did not move, because what they had learned was their actions had no impact on their surrounding. So this is like, when we are going through stuff and we make attempts to do better, and we make attempts to move better or to learn something, and somehow that still does not work out. Our brains have capacity, is what I'm trying to say. Like, that is not to say you are not limitless. You are absolutely limitless. You can do anything you want. You genuinely can. But when we are repeated an outcome multiple number of times, it is very likely that our ability to move in the opposite direction decreases. Like we are not machines, we are human beings. So learned helplessness, as they talked about, is the definition that it is the behavior exhibited by a subject after enduring repeated aversive stimuli beyond their control. In humans, learned helplessness is related to the concept of self-efficacy, the individual's belief in their innate ability to achieve goals. So if something keeps happening, then ultimately I am a person, and I will collect data, and I will put it, like I will analyze it in some manner, right? So that analysis is just based on my past experiences. I am not some superhuman who is going to, you know what I'm saying, right? Do not expect yourself, when we say just get over it, or like just decide, choose to be happy, any of these things, these toxic positivity nonsense that they spew in the name of spirituality or manifestation or God knows what, that kind of is very, very harmful, because what that is saying is, obviously there is a possibility beyond whatever nonsense you have gone through. How much ever nonsense you have gone through, you can create a life for yourself that is much better than it. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is, you are a human being and you are bound to have conclusions based on your observations. You are, that is kind of the point of it. So the entire thing works more like our brain and our body keeps collecting data, and then it behaves in a manner that is replicative of the data that it has collected. Why will it not? How can it not? If I am repeated something, ultimately I am going to become it, right? That also works in our favor. But also, this, there was a screenshot which was like, maybe you do not need something more like positivity or something like that. You need to be out of the systems that are creating that dysregulation in your life and in your mind. And that is kind of the entire point of it. There are people, including me, particularly me, who have tried to intellectualize quite literally everything. you know how much ever you intellectualize, ultimately you're a person, right? There's a quote by Carl Jung, which is like, Carl Jung, whatever the quote is, learn all the theories and master all the techniques, but when you meet a person, be another person. When you meet a soul, be another soul. When you touch a soul, be another soul. So when we look at ourselves, it is good to understand things. It is good to understand that, okay, this is called nervous system dysregulation. I can do better by holding myself first thing in the morning when I wake up, by reducing my screen time, or by just like relaxing my shoulders when I find them tensed. All of these things are proper practices that actually work. At the same time, maybe I am also impacted by the fact that things are just shitty. You know, like I do not have to look in the mirror 24/7 and then collect more evidence of the fact that things are shitty, which ultimately makes things even shittier. Like, while I am going through something that is difficult and emotionally exhausting, I don't need to look in the mirror and expect a person who is not going through it. I don't need to look in the mirror and look at the reality and then collect that as an evidence for the future that it is also going to be shitty. you know like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to keep creating cycles of stupidness by 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 not by expecting myself to not be a person. How can you go through something and then expect yourself to not look like what you're going through? you know how, or to not feel like what you're going through? Don't, this I'm saying to myself, don't try to um, break the rules of basic life. If you give a plant sunlight and water and everything, it will bloom. If you don't give it, it will not bloom. So when we are going through seasons of life that require us to be isolated, or that require us to let go of habits and practices that may have been well intended, but ultimately it has gotten into us it has gotten us into situations and in relationships and in friendships where it is no longer healthy. you know when you are going through such seasons that require you to let go much more than to create space again and again and again, to purge, all of these things, all of these processes are emotionally draining and exhausting, and you are going to look and feel like you are a person who is going through all of this. you know like, that is quite literally the entire point of being a person. So don't, as much as you can intellectualize all of it and you can understand that I am feeling sad, you will have to sit with yourself and genuinely accept the fact that you are feeling sad. You can't simply uh, journal your way out of it. Journaling is a process, but it is not the end goal. Personally, for me, I think I have outgrown the need to put everything in words. It has become more of a somatic experience. Like, it is getting more and more real. Not that if something is in your mind, it is not real. If anything, that is where everything starts. But more real as in it, I have, you know how nervous system, a dysregulated nervous system feels like a fist, you know, and everything that is happening, a very tight fist. So everything that is happening is actually happening, but you don't allow yourself to feel all of it. It is happening like a blur, it is happening like a memory that is passing through you. But when you slowly let go of that tight grip that you have in your fist, and you let it go, then because of it being tight for so long, the muscles are stressed, right? So when you let it go, it is going to shake, the hands are going to shake, but at some point it is going to relax. The point of it being relaxed is not that you're only going to feel the euphoric moments, but it is that anything that is going to happen from here on, you are actually going to feel it. You know, that is kind of what has been happening. And in the same sense, when you actually feel even a moment of joy or happiness, you realize how powerful it is, how powerful it is, how the attempts to continuously disregard your humanity by expecting yourself to feel fabulous in the middle of fire were so stupid, because the moment something actually fabulous happens, even for half a second, and even if it is something so seemingly insignificant like a hug or a friendship that where you are seen fully, when those things actually happen, you realize how stupid you were to try and do skincare in the middle of a burning house. Like, you can try all you want, you can try to have the best habits all you want, but the fact that you can't keep them, you can't be consistent at them. And this, I'm just talking to myself. If your experiences are different than this, or if your realities have made you understand things in a manner that is different to this, which is very much bound to happen, we are human beings living different lives. This is not me narrating your life, this is me just trying to understand mine, you know, out loud. So what was I saying? So, like, the attempts to, when something really good happens, it is actually so powerful that all the attempts that we made to change our life from outside in, you know, if I only do, like, and it is necessary, it is very necessary to try, it is very necessary to make a new routine, and if you make it every day a new one, that is also fine. It is very much necessary to try and keep habits at skincare and then fail at it. It is very much necessary to maybe try and exercise, anything. All of these are very necessary. But the fact that you can't keep at them, the fact that you are not super consistent at them, is not just the fact. It is not the root cause, it is the fruit of the tree. You can't keep consistent at them because the root cause is the fact that you are struggling. Don't take this as an evidence or as the root cause of why you are struggling. Your symptoms are not your disease. You struggling is the symptom. You struggling to be consistent at it is the symptom. It is not the disease. The moment the environment changes or something good comes by, something actually regulating happens, for once when everything else is not a shit show, you will actually be able to do something or feel something different or look at yourself in a different manner. You know, your continuous attempts to rewire your brain regarding how you feel about yourself, or how you, if you just do this you'll be consistent tomorrow, if you just do that you'll be consistent tomorrow, all of these are so appreciated, and all of these are so necessary, and this shows your resilience, and this shows your commitment to change things and to understand things. But at the same time, please understand your limits as a human. The fact that you cannot, you the fact that these things are working in a very superficial manner, is the mere evidence of the fact that there is something beneath it. This is not the proof that you deserve to be struggling. This is the proof that you are struggling right now. The moment things change, environment changes, friendships, you find people who see you, you find people who hold you, you get to do things that make you feel alive, actually alive. You are in situations that are not just survival mechanisms all the time. All of these things, when those little things outside of your control, when those things change, you will actually feel better. All of your attempts to feel better through these practices is good, but there are things beyond your control. Do not expect yourself to not be a human, is what I am trying to say. I hope I make sense, because in my mind that is what I am saying to myself, and it makes sense in my mind, but then I can't put everything in my mind out in words. And maybe I would have explained this better if it was when I was trying to understand all of this better, but this has been in my notes app, WhatsApp notes, for a few weeks now, but I'll try. So, that is the point that I'm making. Happiness is so powerful. Systems where you are flourishing are so powerful. When things that you worry about are being taken care of, you are so powerful. When you are not constantly surviving things, there is so much possibility for happiness and joy, and the snowball effect of happiness is so powerful. So do not expect yourself to not be a human in the midst of a storm or in the midst of things that are testing you. Keep trying to do better. That is very crucial. But also understand that things changing would be much more helpful. Like things that are seemingly, and most probably they are, outside of your control. For example, a job result working in your favor, or finally letting go of the idea that you have to be some version of yourself to deserve things, or finally getting out of that abusive relationship or anything that it is, finally letting go of this situation, or moving away from home if that is what it is for you. Anything and everything, when those big things that you have done everything to change them, but they have not. So those things, when they change, and I really really hope they actually do, you will realize how you were fighting so hard, which is genuinely very very impressive, and which I hope you get a hug for. Those things were so not your fault, and those things were so, like, it was so unfair that you were fighting against something that was bigger than you or outside than you. But also it will be such a huge relief that it is actually possible for you to feel happy. It is actually possible for that skin to glow. It is actually possible for your eyes to have the twinkle and the glimmer that they have when you are happy. For anything and everything that you have been meaning to change, which would ultimately change the situations, but it was quite literally the opposite. The situations changed, and all of these habits became so easy to follow. It became so easy for you to now maybe sit with yourself and not doom scroll, because for once you are not escaping something. So the point I'm making is, happiness is extremely powerful, joy is extremely powerful, being seen is extremely powerful, and it is so commendable that you make attempts every single day to find and create that joy in your life. But I also really hope that joy and happiness outside of you also finds you, you know so that the systems change, so that the environment changes, so that your nervous system for once actually is regulated. This is more like the emotional life. So in Hindi there's a word called man, but we loosely translate it to mean heart, but I don't think it means heart. I've not googled it, but in my understanding, man means the inner person. Like, your brain is the physical aspect of your body, brain, whatever, but mind is the inner person of brain, you know, like heart is the inner person of you. So the inner person, the mind, heart, soul together is the man, I think. So that inner person and the outer person, your brain, your body, these two are connected, right? If these two were not connected, why would there be tears when I am feeling sad? There is a connection between physical and emotional aspects of our body that is understood by us, but that connection runs much deeper than we can understand. You know, there is, the more you read, for example, I have started. There is a website, Ayush or something. They have free modules to learn Ayurveda in as much detail as you can, and it is something I've been meaning to learn for the longest time, and I've started doing it, and it is really lengthy and very nice. So Ayurveda is a very holistic understanding of life and health. It does not separate the mind and the body and the soul. These three come together for yoga and all of that. So in that understanding, if something happens to me, for example, this is my body that you can see, there's a brain and there's a hand, there are two hands, touch wood, and then legs and everything. So similarly, if there is an emotional me, like this emotional me, you know, the parts of that emotional body can be mind and hand and stuff, but if someone hurts me in my arm of the emotional body, you know, for example, arm represents uh, social interactions as a child. So if I am hurt in my emotional arm, then and then I'm, for example, I'm also hurt in my shoulder. So different experiences in life that we have gone through now have given me wounds and pain and like ligament tear and something in my emotional body, in multiple parts of my emotional body. Now what I am trying to do is, for example, today I wake up and I'm like, all that I've gone through is there, right? It is there in my emotional body. But tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, I want to do better and I want to try and uh, get out of all of this and do better and have better habits and everything. And that is excellent. But tomorrow, if I try to exercise and I'm stretching that arm where I have been hurt, then when I stretch it, it is going to hurt even more. It is going to feel like it is getting worse because it is hurting even more. But that is just the pain is an evidence that attention needs to be given there. You know, the pain is not an evidence that I am failing. Am I making sense? It makes sense in my mind. It is like, I am trying to run and I am trying to become a perfect athlete while being wounded so heavily. Emotionally, I'm talking about. While being wounded so heavily, I want to become the most perfect athlete. How is it possible? How it is going to almost maybe become worse, you know? So, all of this is connected. In the physical sense, also, it is connected. When we read about fascia and when we read about our gut health being connected to our body, all of these things are connected in the physical aspect also. Everything is connected, all of it. And in the midst of having all of those wounds, I am trying to become a perfect athlete. That is not possible. That is absolutely not possible. That is not to say it will not happen, but I will have to sit with that shoulder pain. I will have to sit with it and I will have to acknowledge it and I will have to tend to it very tenderly for me to stretch it again tomorrow, maybe trying, you know, even attempt to stretch it again. So I hope I made sense with this example, but it is like the point I'm trying to make is something, you know. Everything is connected. This is the notes. Everything is connected, the emotional and physical body. So that is what I am trying to say. But if I did not make sense, I apologize, because there is no other way I could have put it. It maybe will get more confusing if I keep talking, so maybe we'll end this here. But I want to end it because I saw the notes right now. I have missed a point. When I say joy and happiness is really powerful, I really, really want to mention my nephews. One of my cousins, so my dad's sister, she has grandkids, and her eldest child has two babies, twin boys. They are going to turn um, 1 year old this April. Their half birthday is my birthday, my half birthday is their birthday. But the point is, I got to spend like 48 hours plus something with them last week or something, first week of March. When I tell you that happiness is very powerful, I mean particularly in context of these babies, because I can be trying to run and I can be trying to jog and become again the most perfect athlete, but the amount of power that joy and happiness hold, like where I was hurt in the shoulder, I will require a medicine for that particular pain, and for wounds in the emotional body, the medicine is joy. When you receive it, it is going to be so much more powerful than um, any outside in attempt that we try to make regarding healing. So spending time with them, holding them, being around them, getting to hear their giggles and to look at their faces and to just see them smile, and not even smile, just to hold them, because their parents were really busy. It was their first Holi, which is a big deal, and these babies, we waited a long time to see them, so this celebration was extremely special. So their parents were also busy, so I got to spend a lot of time with them, and somehow they were also comfortable around me, so it was almost like my duty to hold them, and I couldn't have been happier, because just holding them, there, how do I say this, there is so much. Maybe I am biased because these are my nephews, but in any way, a child has some magic within it that is also present in human beings. We have our guards up really high more often than not, but to hold them meant to hold them was equal to like 1,000 hours of meditation. To hold them was equal to 10,000 hours of me rewiring my brain by telling myself it is okay, it is okay, it is okay. No words were needed. To those 2 days were way more powerful than anything I could have imagined. Just to be around them. Their cheeks are so chubby. They were like, and they are so sweet, because you can, how much ever you can, as in I can. How many ever smooches I want to give to them on their cheeks, they would just take it, and it changes something in you, when you are happy. That is what I mean when I say happiness is extremely powerful. To go through it will bring about the changes that you are trying to bring from the outside in. I hope I made sense, and I hope it was helpful. So that is pretty much it.